In the hallowed halls of Nnamdi Azikiwe University, a notorious figure emerged, casting a dark shadow over the campus and beyond. Uchenna Nubu, infamously known as Anali, was the feared leader of the Black Axe confraternity, a group notoriously linked to violence and crime. Within the university's walls, the Black Axe faction was known as the Zambezi High Temple, a name that commanded both fear and respect. Anali's reputation preceded him, with whispers of his alleged involvement in armed robberies and brazen attacks on security operatives spreading far and wide. His notoriety was not confined to the university campus, it had seeped into the streets of Awka, striking fear into the hearts of residents. The mere mention of his name was enough to send shivers down the spines of those who had heard the tales of his exploits. Anali's disdain for authority was well documented, with several instances of him launching attacks on security operatives who dared to get in his way. His actions were often reckless and violent, leaving a trail of destruction and chaos in his wake. One particular incident on December 14, 2021, would forever be etched in the memories of those who witnessed it. Anali was alleged to have launched a daring attack on the chairman of the Tricycle Owners Association in broad daylight, near the Nnamdi Azikiwe University Junction. The attack resulted in the tragic loss of 2 police officers, and Anali was said to have made off with their AK-47 guns. Furthermore, Anali was implicated in the gruesome beheading of a Viking executioner named Edu Obora, a crime that sent shockwaves through the community. Additionally, he was linked to a massacre that occurred during a funeral party of a prominent Viking member in Ebenib, Awka North. It was alleged that Anali had invited Black Axe externals from Benin to Awka, who then stormed the burial ceremony, shooting indiscriminately at the mourners. Both Viking members and innocent bystanders fell victim to this senseless violence. Eyewitness accounts of the massacre varied, with some claiming that the Vikings had been warned of Anali's approach and had fled before he arrived with his killer squad. Others alleged that the Vikings had been caught off guard, gyrating during the ceremony before Anali and his men stormed the venue. The police had been hot on Anali's trail for some time, and with these latest allegations, their pursuit of him and his squad became even more relentless. The authorities were determined to bring Anali to justice, to put an end to his reign of terror and restore peace to the community. But Anali remained at large, always staying one step ahead of the law, leaving a trail of fear and violence in his wake. As the police intensified their pursuit of Anali, a significant breakthrough was made in their quest to dismantle his notorious killer squad. Emergency, a feared and notorious figure within Anali's inner circle, was finally apprehended by local security operatives. The circumstances surrounding Emergency's arrest, however, remain shrouded in mystery, with varying accounts emerging from different sources. Some sources claimed that the Viking'S, a rival confraternity, had masterminded Emergency's downfall. According to these accounts, the Viking'S had collaborated with the local security operatives to track down Emergency, ultimately leading to his capture. This narrative suggested that the Viking'S had cleverly manipulated the situation, using the local security operatives to do their bidding and eliminate a key member of Anali's squad. On the other hand, other sources painted a different picture, asserting that Emergency's arrest was solely the result of his involvement in an armed robbery. According to these accounts, the local security operatives had apprehended Emergency while he was allegedly engaged in a robbery, with no Viking involvement whatsoever. This narrative implied that Emergency's own actions had led to his downfall, rather than any deliberate attempt by the Viking'S to sabotage Anali's squad. Despite the discrepancies in the accounts, one thing was certain: Emergency's arrest was a significant blow to Anali's killer squad. As a key member of the squad, Emergency's capture was likely to disrupt Anali's operations and potentially create divisions within the group. The police, meanwhile, were likely to capitalize on this breakthrough, using Emergency's arrest as a starting point to gather more intelligence on Anali's squad and ultimately bring the notorious leader to justice. As the investigation continued, the police remained tight-lipped about the details surrounding Emergency's arrest. However, one thing was clear: the net was closing in on Anali, and it was only a matter of time before he would be brought to account for his alleged crimes. The people of Awka and beyond waited with bated breath, hoping that justice would soon be served and that the reign of terror perpetrated by Anali and his squad would finally come to an end. The prolonged detention of Emergency, a key member of Anali's Black Axe squad, had been simmering like a cauldron of discontent, waiting to boil over into a catastrophic confrontation. Anali, fueled by a burning sense of loyalty and a desire for revenge, had been secretly orchestrating a daring plan to rescue his detained comrade. As the days ticked by, Anali's resolve only hardened, and he began to assemble a team of his most trusted and ruthless Black Axe operatives. Their mission was clear: to launch a surprise attack on the local security house where emergency was being held, and to extract him by any means necessary. The local security house, a supposedly secure facility, was about to become the focal point of a deadly and devastating assault. Anali and his squad had meticulously planned their attack, gathering intelligence on the security house's layout, guard rotations, and vulnerabilities. On the 15th of March 2022, the day of reckoning arrived. Anali, his face set in a determined grimace, led his Black Axe hit squad in a daring and surprising attack on the local security house. The squad, armed to the teeth with guns and other deadly weapons, descended upon the facility like a swarm of deadly locusts. The security house, caught off guard by the sudden and ferocious attack, was quickly overrun. Anali's squad, with military-like precision, neutralized the security personnel, disabling their ability to respond effectively to the assault. As the attack raged on, the sound of gunfire and screams filled the air, sending shockwaves of terror through the surrounding community. The local security house, once a symbol of safety and security, had been transformed into a war zone, with Anali's Black Axe squad holding sway. With their superior firepower and tactical advantage, Anali's squad was able to breach the security house's inner sanctum, where emergency was being held. In a matter of minutes, they had extracted their comrade, spiriting him away from the clutches of the authorities. The local security house lay in ruins, its personnel either killed, injured, or fled in terror. Anali's Black Axe squad, having accomplished their mission, had tried to melt away into the shadows, leaving behind a trail of destruction and chaos. As Anali and his fellow Black Axe members made their escape from the scene of the daring rescue mission, they were blissfully unaware of the impending doom that was about to befall them. Unbeknownst to Anali, the local security operatives had swiftly called for backup from the police, who arrived at the scene in a matter of minutes. The police contingent was a force to be reckoned with, armed with sophisticated weapons and boasting a personnel strength that far outnumbered that of Anali's squad. With a fierce determination etched on their faces, the police opened fire on Anali and his fellow axemen, sparking a bloody and intense gun duel. Anali's squad, realizing they were outgunned and outnumbered, attempted to retreat to their vehicle and make a hasty escape. However, in the chaos and confusion of the moment, Anali was struck by a bullet while trying to flee to the safety of their car. His fellow Black Axe members, undeterred by the sudden loss of their leader, managed to retrieve Anali's gun and make a frantic dash for freedom, leaving their fallen comrade behind. Emergency, the very person Anali had risked everything to rescue, was unable to join his fellow axemen in their desperate bid for escape. The wounds he had sustained while being rough-handled by the local security operatives during his detention had left him severely weakened, making it impossible for him to flee. The local security operatives, still reeling from the shock of the attack, were further enraged by the loss of two of their own officers in the ensuing gun duel. Their anger and frustration boiled over, and in a shocking display of jungle justice, they turned on Emergency, setting him ablaze in a horrific act of revenge. The entire incident sent shockwaves through the city of Oka, leaving residents stunned and horrified by the sheer brutality of the events that had unfolded. The memory of that fateful day would linger on, a grim reminder of the violence and bloodshed that had become all too commonplace in the city's streets. 2 months had passed since the brutal incident that had claimed the lives of Anali and Emergency, yet the embers of vengeance still smoldered in the hearts of the Black Axe members. Seeking to avenge their fallen leader's demise, they meticulously planned a retaliatory attack on the security operatives who had been responsible for Anali's death. The Black Axe members, aware of the curfew that had been imposed on the city, saw an opportunity to strike under the cover of darkness. On a fateful Monday evening, they launched a surprise attack on the security operatives' post, catching them off guard. The Black Axe members, fueled by their desire for revenge, set ablaze the security operatives' vehicle and brutally killed some of the personnel on duty. The police, enraged by this brazen act of violence against the security operatives, immediately launched a search for the Black Axe members and their alleged sponsors. The police were determined to bring those responsible for the attack to justice, and their efforts yielded results as they apprehended several individuals linked to the Black Acts or suspected of sponsoring their activities. The year 2022 had been marked by a series of violent incidents, and the police were resolute in their efforts to restore order and stability to the city. However, a grim and unfortunate side to this tale emerged, as it was alleged that none of Anali's killer squad who had been active during that year were alive to tell the story. Some had been apprehended by the police, only to be met with instant gunfire instead of being taken into custody and brought before the courts. Others had fallen victim to reprisal attacks launched by the Vikings, a rival confraternity. The brutal cycle of violence had claimed the lives of many, serving as a stark reminder that those who live by the sword often die by the sword. The city of Oka was left to pick up the pieces, mourning the loss of so many young lives to senseless violence. The police, meanwhile, continued their efforts to dismantle the confraternities and restore peace to the city's streets. As the people of Oka looked to the future, they could only hope that the lessons of the past would not be forgotten, and that the cycle of violence would finally be broken. As we reflect on the devastating consequences of cultism, it's imperative that we recognize the urgent need to shun this destructive path. Cultism has claimed countless lives, destroyed families, and ravaged communities, leaving behind a trail of sorrow and regret. It's time for us to come together and reject the false promises of cultism. Let's embrace peace, love, and understanding, and work towards creating a harmonious and inclusive society.